Hello, everyone. Before I get started, I would just like to give you a brief history of the topic that I will be discussing today. So, a few thousand years ago, back in Celtic territories, the Celts used to celebrate a festival known as Samhain. Samhain was celebrated on November 1st, and it marked the end of summer and a successful harvest season and the beginning of a long, cold, hard, dark winter to come. So, the night before Samhain, October 31st, the Celts used to believe that the dead would resurrect themselves as these spirits or ghosts. And to keep these spirits and or ghosts from entering their homes, they would put foods and wines out on their front steps. And if they felt the need to leave their homes, they would dress up in masks or costumes as if to trick these ghosts into thinking that they weren't mortal. So, does anybody have any idea of what holiday now that I might be leading up to? Well, if you guessed Halloween, you are correct. So, when the Roman Empire did conquer these Celtic territories, which are now known as Ireland, three traditions or festivals really came together. The first two being of Roman tradition. The first being Feralia, which is the passing of the dead. The second was a celebration of a goddess known as Pomona, who is the goddess of fruits and trees. And ironically, her symbol is the apple, which may be where we get the tradition of bobbing from apples on Halloween festivals. And the third, of course, being Samhain. So when Pope Boniface was the Pope of the Roman Empire at the time, he created a holiday known as All Martyrs' Day, which was originally celebrated in May. But when Pope Gregory succeeded Pope Boniface, he created a holiday known as All Saints' Day and moved the holiday from May to November 1st. So as Christianity really began to spread through the churches of Ireland, All Souls' Day was created and celebrated on November 2nd, after All Saints' Day. So on Old Souls' Day, a tradition came about where poorer families would go from home to home and beg for food as preparing for a long winter. So in exchange for what later became known as soul cakes, these poorer families agreed to pray for the families who gave them the food. They began to pray for their deceased ones. And this tradition later acquitted the tradition of leaving out foods and wines on the front steps on October 31st. And this tradition also became known as going a-souling, which may be a prelude to trick-or-treating. So, All Saints' Day, on November 1st, became known as All Hallows' Day. And the day before All Hallows' Day, October 31st, became known as All Hallows' Eve, which later became known as Halloween. So in the beginning of the 1800s, Halloween, All Hallows' Day, All Hallows' Eve was not really celebrated in America due to heavy Protestant traditions and beliefs in the colonies. But as time went on and more immigrants came to America, with ethnic traditions and native traditions, more autumn festivities were celebrated. But Halloween was still not a thing yet. So, autumn festivities as in celebration of harvests and the passing of deceased ones between natives and Americans at the time were also celebrated singing, dancing, storytelling. Really wasn't though till the mid 1800s when the Great Potato Famine hit Ireland and brought many Irish immigrants to America. So American traditions began to meld with Irish traditions, and Americans began to dress up in these costumes, and they went from house to house asking for food or money. And this may be where the slogan trick-or-treating was finally come up with. So during the late 1800s, Halloween was really recognized as this holiday that should be family-oriented. And, great neighborhood parties were created, and newspapers and governments really influenced people to take anything frightening or grotesque out of Halloween, which really got rid of the religious overtones, such as All Saints' Day or such as All Souls' Day. So in the beginning of the 1900s, after the trick-or-treating slogan became popularized in the 20s and the 30s, tricking was much more prevalent than treating. So the government again and newspapers again stepped in to influence more family gathered celebrations where Halloween parties are in the home or in the classroom. And as the 1950s came about and baby boomer generation got a little bit older, parents really started to realize that if they gave more treats, less tricking would stop. Therefore, when we go trick or treating, we get candy. And therefore, our tradition, the way we celebrate Halloween, was really created. Thanks for listening.